used to clear these 3 steps in a single bound. Today, he pauses, weighs the distance, and tests his front paw first. Every senior dog owner knows this pause. The half-second where a jump they never thought twice about suddenly requires calculation, hesitation, and a little bit of courage. It's not one moment. It's the extra second it takes him to sit, the small grunt when he lies down, the stiffness that eases only after he's moved for a minute. So what actually happens inside an aging joint? To understand what helps, you first have to understand what's wearing down and why it happens so gradually. She started keeping a small list, slower on stairs, reluctant to jump in the car, stiff after naps. Small entries, but together they told her something was changing. Down the street, another owner slows her pace to match her aging terrier. This isn't one dog story. It's a pattern playing out in millions of homes. He used to pull so hard on this leash it left a mark on her palm. Now it hangs slack between them, and she notices the silence of that more than anything. Watch closely in the first minutes after he wakes. The stiffness is real, but so is the loosening that follows once he's moving. That contrast means something specific. Trips to the park now start with a decision at the car door. Lift him in, or wait, hoping he'll find the courage to try the jump himself. In the waiting room, she counts 4 other graying dogs, 4 other owners with the same tired, hopeful expression. This is common enough to have its own solutions. Before we go further, it's worth pausing here, not on fear, but on attention. What his body has been quietly signaling deserves a closer, more patient look. This is where we're headed. A short, confident routine she can do at home in 10 minutes that keeps him moving comfortably for years to come. Just 4 things: a non-slip mat, a few soft treats, a short towel for support, and 10 unhurried minutes without distraction. Nothing more complicated than that. At midnight, she scrolls through conflicting advice, one site urging exercise, another warning against it, and closes her laptop no clearer than when she opened it. Mornings used to start with him bounding straight into the yard. Now she holds the door a beat longer, watching him navigate the single step down at his own pace. Even at the grocery store, her mind drifts back to him, wondering if the stiffness she saw this morning was worse than usual, or if she's only noticing more now. At the bottom of the stairs each night, there's a small hesitation before he starts the climb, one paw testing the first step longer than it used to. His favorite rope toy sits by the couch leg, fibers frayed from years of tugging. These days it stays where it lands, and he simply watches it from a distance. The doorbell used to send him sprinting to the door. Now it startles him first, a flinch before the bark, as if the sudden movement itself caused something. They used to come here every Saturday. Today they just pass the gate, and she doesn't slow the car, because watching him try to keep up would hurt more. His naps look peaceful from a distance, but watch closely and you'll see the repositioning, the size, the search for an angle that doesn't ache. Her sister asks gently if it's time to think about a ramp or fewer walks. She nods, quiet, not defensive, just aware the question was fair. Taken together, these aren't random moments. They're a body telling a consistent story, one joint, one hesitation, one quiet adjustment at a time. Cartilage acts as a cushion between bones, smooth and slick, letting joints glide without friction. In an aging joint, that cushion simply thins over time. Every jump off a couch, every sprint across a yard, every hard landing adds up. None of it was harmful in the moment. Together, over years, it wears the surface down. Joint fluid works like oil in a hinge, keeping motion smooth. As a dog ages, that fluid changes in quality, and the hinge simply doesn't move as easily. Muscle supports a joint the way a frame supports a house. When muscle around a hip weakens, more pressure lands directly on the joint itself. Aging joints often carry low-grade inflammation, a quiet warmth and swelling that isn't dramatic day-to-day, but adds constant background irritation to movement. Not every limp means pain in that exact spot. Sometimes it's compensation, the body quietly shifting weight away from a weaker joint to protect it. Not all stiffness is arthritis.
So you
Some
can see
is simple
here,
age-related
general
tightness that
stiffness might
responds
present
quickly to
after
movement.
rest,
True
whereas
arthritis involves joint
osteoarthritis
damage
is a
and
more
needs a vet's
persistent,
evaluation
progressive
first.
condition.
Every extra pound multiplies pressure on the joints with each step. Even a small amount of weight gain can meaningfully increase the daily load on aging hips. On colder mornings, the stiffness is often more noticeable. Cold weather can tighten muscles and joints further, making the first movements of the day a little harder. A proper evaluation includes checking range of motion in each joint, watching gait from multiple angles, and sometimes imaging before any exercise plan is recommended. A weak hip doesn't stay isolated. The body compensates by shifting weight forward, which can gradually strain the back and even the front shoulders over time. Some clinics offer options like underwater treadmills, giving joints support through buoyancy. It's not something every home needs, but it shows how many tools now exist. Back in the exam room, Maria nods along, connecting each explanation to what she's already noticed at home. The pattern finally has a name and a reason. Before starting any stretch or exercise routine at home, a vet or certified rehab specialist should confirm which joints are affected and rule out anything exercise could worsen. She leaves with a simple printed plan in hand, cleared for gentle stretching and short walks. For the first time in weeks, the uncertainty has a shape. The most common mistake isn't doing the wrong exercise. It's waiting months to start anything at all, while stiffness quietly becomes harder to reverse. Her first instinct was to stop all activity completely. It felt protective. But joints that stop moving entirely often grow stiffer, not stronger. Other days, feeling motivated, she'd take him on a long walk to make up for lost time. By the final block, his stiff limp was worse than before they left. Reaching for a human pain reliever from the cabinet feels like an easy fix. Many of these medications are actually unsafe for dogs and should never be given without veterinary guidance. The ramp she ordered still leans against the wall in its plastic wrap. Buying the right tool means little if the dog is never gently introduced to using it. One Sunday, she tried to fit an entire week's worth of stretching into a single long session. By the end, both of them were more exhausted than improved. After missing a few days, guilt made it easier to avoid starting again than to simply resume. A skipped week became 2, and the routine quietly dissolved. She bought him 3 new orthopedic beds in a month, each one a small act of love, but none of them addressed the stiffness that started this search. In her eagerness to help, she once stretched his hip a little too far, a little too fast. His soft wince was an important lesson about starting gently. She tried 3 different exercise videos in 1 week, each one designed for a generic dog, none of them accounting for which joints he actually needed to protect. In the rush to help, she sometimes moved straight from him lying still into a full stretch, skipping the few minutes of easy movement that should come first. One evening, after another failed attempt, she snapped at no one in particular, then immediately felt guilty, reminded that patience matters as much as any technique. The next morning, instead of trying another borrowed routine, she called the clinic back and asked for a real, structured plan built specifically for him.
The good news is,
the goal was never to reverse 10 years. It was to keep him comfortable, mobile, and confident in his own body for as many good years as possible. Now, every session starts the same way, 2 or 3 minutes of easy, slow walking, just enough to warm the muscles before any deeper stretch begins. With him standing relaxed, she gently supports his hind leg and draws it back in a slow, small arc, holding for a few seconds before easing forward again. The signs of a good stretch are simple: a loose tail, soft eyes, and no pulling away. If any of those change, it's time to ease off immediately. Next, a slow, small circular motion at the hip joint, no more than a few inches wide, helps ease synovial fluid through the joint without any strain. With a hand under his chest for light support, she encourages 3 slow sits and stands in a row, building hip and thigh strength without overloading the joint. 3 to 5 repetitions is usually enough for a single session. The goal is gentle, consistent movement, never pushing toward exhaustion or visible fatigue. Standing on a folded towel challenges his balance just slightly, engaging small stabilizing muscles around each joint without any impact or strain on his legs. Heavier panting, reluctance to continue, or a slower response to cues all signal it's time to stop for the day, even if the plan called for more. For extra support, a folded towel looped gently under his belly can take some weight off his hind legs during short walks, especially on harder surfaces. On days he seems unusually stiff, sore, or simply tired, skipping the session entirely and resting is the right call, not a setback in the plan. The session ends with a few minutes of slow, gentle massage along his back and shoulders, easing him back into stillness and rewarding his effort with comfort. Small changes around the house help too. Rugs over slippery floors, the ramp finally introduced slowly, and a lower step stool by the bed for easier access. Walks are shorter now, 10 to 15 minutes, twice a day, instead of one long outing, with frequent pauses that let him set the pace himself. Instead of searching for answers late at night, she now jots a quick note after each session, a simple log that shows real progress over real weeks. 10 minutes, start to finish, feels different now. Not a chore, not a worry, just a quiet, familiar rhythm. The two of them move through together. At the same 3 steps from the very beginning, he pauses only briefly now, then climbs with a steadier, more confident rhythm than he's shown in months. One afternoon, without any coaxing, he chose to hop onto the low couch himself, a small, unremarkable moment that meant everything to the person watching. The leash isn't taut like it once was, but there's a gentle pull again, small, steady, and enough to make her laugh softly under her breath. It was never about undoing 10 years. It was about 10 minutes a day, given consistently, buying him more comfortable years ahead than he'd have had otherwise. The list on the refrigerator looks different now. Fewer worried notes, more small victories, a quiet record of how far 10 consistent minutes a day can go. As the light fades, they walk the same familiar block they always have, a little slower than years ago, but steady, together and quietly, comfortably fine. If this helped you see your own dog a little differently, consider liking this video, leaving a comment about your own senior dog, sharing it, and subscribing for more.